Welcome back to Face Conversations. Today I am speaking with the very lovely Debbie Debonaire. Debbie is a coach, speaker, author, and mentor, and she is the creator of a beautiful healing process for women called Heartact Approach. Her transformational work has led her to be the author of a book, and I know she has more on the go. Debbie believes that images are a way to capture our feelings and reflect those feelings back. She really believes that they are an emotional tool to help us in our lives. And she believes that she believes everyone has the right to be free from control and to live their true best life to their life purpose. So I'm really excited to introduce Debbie. Enjoy this interview. Debbie, hi. Thank you so much for joining me on Face to Face Conversations. Welcome. Tell me about your picture.
Oh, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Catherine. I'm really privileged. Thank you. So I have chosen two photographs. The first photograph is when I was in one of my very darkest times. And the second one is when I realized how empowered I was to then be able to empower others.
So these are a before and after an event, a
Yeah,
significant moment.
yeah, significant time in my life. Yes,
Okay, lovely.
not necessarily an event as such.
Sure. Okay, can we see your pictures, please?
You can, yes. Can you see them all right?
Mm, okay, lovely. Tell me, how do you feel when you see them both side by side? What's most, your biggest or strongest emotion?
My strongest emotion is elation.
Wow.
Be- yeah, because the after photograph just allows me to shine as the person that I am today. And it's a place that I never ever thought I would get to, ever.
Amazing. I've got goosebumps. So, are you happy to share what the transition was all about? What the difference?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the before photograph was taken when I was in one of my deepest, darkest spaces, having conquered clinical depression or going through conquering clinical depression. I also failed 3 attempts at suicide, and this picture was taken not long after the third attempt at suicide. So it was towards the end of me coming out of clinical depression, but not exactly on the road to being fully recovered. And it made me kind of realize what I had done, not only in psychological sense, but also in a physiological sense, because she just looks so sad, so kind of puffed out in her face that, it's kind of like she's very vacant in the photograph. And that was how I lived possibly 20 plus years of my life,
Mm.
in that vacant mode. And being able to see that and then see where I am today, it's just, any far away above whatever I could have imagined when I was in that before photograph,
Mm.
because she was just in such a desperate state, that she and I think that may have been taken before I had my oh shit moment where I had the vision of my little boy, because I was always told that I was an unfit mother and that my son was better off without me, hence why I tried to commit suicide 3 times. And when I had my oh shit moment and had the vision of my little boy and saw his face and the tears running down his face, I realized that everything I'd been told was wrong. My little boy didn't need me. And that was the full start of my ultimate transformation. You know, I'd kind of battled with the clinical depression and was working on coming out of that, but I wasn't doing the transformation from that lady that you see there to the one that you see now.
Do you
You
remember
know,
how you felt in your before picture when it was being taken?
when it was being taken, to be honest, it's actually, believe it or not, I'm actually doing a live when I tried to start my business up originally. And I was going through the motions. I wasn't feeling what I was doing on that live.
Mm.
I was just going through the motions of I've got to put a live out there because somebody's told me I've got to go live and I've got to get my, that kind of thing. Under immense pressure, because in my head I was thinking the way out is to be running my own business and it wasn't even the business I'm doing now. It was kind of like more businessy, which isn't me. Um, and so I was already under immense pressure. And then doing that, I was even under more immense pressure. And I think that's why she looks so vacant, because that's exactly how I felt. I, I was going through motions. I was going through the motions of living life, and I was going through the motions of being somebody who was trying to run a business who didn't have a clue what she was doing.
Do you find it easy to connect with Debbie in that picture?
Um, Funnily enough, I can connect to the old Debbie in that picture.
What does that mean?
The before picture is not the Debbie I am now. The before picture was I was controlled, I was desperate, I was I wouldn't well, yeah, then I felt weak. Okay. Obviously through the transformation I realized I wasn't weak. Um just desperation, it's like clutching at straws. That
Mm.
was the Debbie that was then. I was coming out of clinical depression, but I was still desperate to understand what my life was, what was my purpose, why was I here? You
She
know,
looks very
I was
lost, I think.
yeah, yeah, and I was extremely lost. And I was lost for a long, long time.
Mm.
Prior to that, and a little bit after that as well, I was very, very lost, very lost. And I think that's how I feel that I was vacant, because I wasn't involved in what I was doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was physically, but not mentally or emotionally or logically. I just wasn't involved in it. I was just, people were saying, do this, do that, do this, do that, and your business will be booming. And I did all that and spent a lot of money and never got anywhere. And same old story. And that's where she was. It was because she was so lost and was grasping at the straws that she thought were going to help her get through the last part of coming out of clinical depression.
Wow. So you mentioned your transformation. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looked like?
Yeah, it was a long journey. I did an awful lot of self care, learned how to love Debbie and really love her, not just play at it, but really love her and give her the time and attention that she deserved. And kind of try and step away from the controlling aspect of everything,
Mm.
which was really difficult because I've been controlled since I was 8. And so the transformation, it had its very bad down days, but it had a lot of the up days. And one of the things that was the biggest transformation for me in the early days of the transformation was the fact that I managed after 9 years to look in the mirror and see what Debbie actually looked like.
And how was that moment? That's quite profound.
Yeah, it took me 3 weeks. Okay. I would get out of bed go to the mirror with my eyes shut. I knew where the mirror was, so I didn't need to have my eyes open. And face the mirror, never open my eyes for a week. Second week, I would open my eyes and then close them straight away. And then the third week, I actually opened my eyes and looked at the Debbie in the mirror.
And what did you see?
And I saw desperation. I saw a cry for help. I saw someone who needed to be found, really needed to be found.
By you?
By me. Yeah, nobody else could do it. Nobody else could do it for me. You know, you can get all the advice in the world and you can get all the guidance in the world, but if you don't act upon the guidance, then what's the point of taking the guidance? So I did have a therapist for a short while, but things went a bit sour with that because they stepped over the boundary line. And I thought, right, okay, I've come so far, I can do it by myself. And that's basically how I started the beginning of the transformation. So when I started doing the mirror work, which is extremely powerful, it was really difficult. I mean, I cried every day, as you can imagine. And it took me quite a few weeks to start going past the eyes. And what I mean by that is when you look in the mirror, you look at the person in the mirror. What was needed was I needed to look into the person in the mirror. And the eyes are the way to do that. So I began to look into her eyes. And by then looking into her eyes, it gets you to her heart. And that was it. And that was what opened me up to so much of my journey of transformation, that I found my heart.
So can we just stay with that? You said you found your heart, that emotion that's there when you remember that point. How does that make you feel?
When I feel the emotion, it's just so much unconditional love. You just can't put it on any scale whatsoever. You know, when I was doing it, there was shame, regret, disgust that I'd allowed all this to happen, to not be able to be at one with my heart, and be able to be there with my soul, you know, because yes, you're there with your heart, but your soul's so much deeper inside, you know. And even now, sometimes I have to stop and check myself and say, "Are you going deep enough?"
Lovely. That's
You know,
very it's a really great way to keep your self-awareness really heightened, isn't it?
yes,
Brilliant.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
your second picture, your after picture,
Mm.
how does that one make you feel when you look at it? And how does your mirror work that you've just been describing feed into this picture?
This picture is just a lady who is so content, so happy, so aligned with herself, you know, so in tune with herself that I'd never been before, you know. And it was through doing that mirror work and finding my heart and going into my soul that I started to be able to be in tune with who I am, who the person I am today, and who this lady is in this photograph is who I am today. And she just lights up the photograph. And you know, the before photograph is so dark, so shadowed, and this one is just, you know, she's actually staring into the camera. She's, you know, she's kind of so relaxed that she's resting on her fist, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, I'm cool. You know what I mean? Just so relaxed. And I often use this photograph if I very rarely get stressed to the point where I need to take time out. Okay. But when it comes, it's huge, absolutely huge. I have to like really take time out a couple of days, and it's normally because I'm on the verge of something. I'm on the verge of creating something, and sometimes what comes up is because I'm on the verge of something, I need to revisit something that maybe I haven't completely put to bed yet. And when that happens, it's quite astounding that you think, yeah, I've covered everything, cleared everything, transformed from everything. And then something will come up and you'll think, shit, I haven't. Sorry, pardon the language. But, you know, you think, oh God, why is that come up now? But then you realize the reason it's come up now is because you need to address it. You need to see what it is that's, you know, made it come back up, because you need to address it so that you can go to the next point in your life, the next page in your life, the next chapter in your life, because I'm all about rewriting your life script.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know, every day we step out onto our life stage. Every day we are our own director, and we take ourselves, and not always in the right direction. I didn't take my life in the right direction for 38 years, you know, and now I've had the opportunity of the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, to take my life in the right direction. Maybe I would probably say 15 years. Um, in fact, it's not even that, it's 14 years, because I came out of clinical depression probably in 2006, where I could say I've come out the other side.
Mm.
Was 2006, or 14 years ago. And then that was the start of the transformation, because I was strong enough. I'd dealt with a lot of things. And I think when you find that inner strength, which, the after photograph just oozes, um, you know, you see what can then take you,
Mm.
So I worked a lot on self-care, self-improvement, being consciously aware of things that I was allowing in my life and things that I was not allowing in my life, because I was still allowing things in that I shouldn't be allowing in my life.
Mm.
So I realized that I needed to make sure that I was being true to myself, that I
Yeah.
hadn't been most of my life, and that's what she radiates. She radiates it, in that picture. And that's why when those moments come, when I need a bit of a reassurance that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing the right thing, I go to that picture, I go to that photograph. And that's the photograph that I use for all of my avatars.
Mm.
I've not updated it at all because of what she gives me. And I think if she can give it to me, maybe she can give it to someone else as well. So that's kind of what I see in her.
I just want to sit in that moment. That was just so inspiring, Debbie. I was going to ask you how you use this image, and you answered that question. I didn't need to ask it, and I love how this image is so present in your life and everything you do. I mean, that just shows the power of the photograph
Yeah.
for you.
And through the latter part of the transformation, I did have guidance.
Mm.
I did a like a style analysis, like your colours and things like that. And I had for years straight dyed highlighted blonde hair for years. Okay. And I thought I looked great. Okay. When this person advised me to go down a different route, I rebelled, because to me, I was in my time that I wanted to be in. It looked, as I thought, fabulous. Anyway, I went through that whole process, ended up with curly hair, ended up with darker hair, which is highlighted just a little bit. And the response I had from people was nothing that I could ever imagine, and yeah, I just think it was meant to be,
Mm.
and now I have curly hair and I'm
Definitely.
me.
and it's beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
tell me, before we wrap up, what do you want to say to these women in the pictures?
I have already apologised profusely to the lady in the before picture. Okay, profuse. I talked to her. I spoke to her loads and loads of times. But what I want to say to her today is actually thank you, because that lady in that picture, if it wasn't for that lady in that picture, I wouldn't have the other picture. So a huge heartfelt thank you is really what I want to say to her. And to the lady in the after picture, I also want to say thank you, because she's the one that keeps me where I am. Well, she's the one that actually takes me forward every single day and not keeps me where I am.
It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it,
Oh, no.
and understand the power that's in photographs.
Definitely. So, and how's it been talking about them today?
Actually, really comforting.
Great.
I feel a real warmth around my body, and I can't really explain it. Um, but I think it's compassion, both for the Debbie before and the Debbie after. That when you go through your everyday life, you don't actually realize you're feeling that. So it is a really deep compassion for them both, because without either of them, I wouldn't be where I am today, making a difference in other people's lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Debbie. It's been a
Oh,
huge pleasure.
thank you, Catherine. It's been an absolute honour. Thank you.
The very lovely Debbie Debonaire. I really enjoyed that conversation. When I first met Debbie, one of the things that struck me was her warmth and compassion. And I'm really glad she touched on that at the end, because that's what I really felt and saw in her when we first met. And she's the kind of person that you just want to be around and absorb her energy and all her warmth. And she's inspiring to me to to do more and be more. So she's a wonderful person to know. When we were chatting afterwards, she said how much that the conversation had reaffirmed self-acceptance for her, and how looking at her images had really helped that. So it was really lovely to hear how deep and soulful she felt towards these images. They're clearly very important to her, and it was really lovely to hear that at the end of our conversation. There's definitely something about talking about your images, or a meaningful image with somebody else, that takes what we see in it to a different level. We can look at images of ourselves and see an awful lot and ask ourselves a lot of questions. But when we start to verbalize how we're feeling, it's the same with anything. Stuff comes up that we weren't expecting. And I really felt that the interview with Debbie was a good example of that, of how conversations are so important, and conversations about images of us that have deep meaning really can take everything to the next level and help us live a deeper, richer existence and have a deeper, richer relationship with ourselves. Thank you for watching.